fans, and welcome to another episode of Horror Q&A. I'm Megan Salinas.
I'm Katie Cullen, and I love this. Like, you don't know what show it is? It's your show.
I mean, it's also like in the little title right there below the screen. So.
Yes, but it's your show.
I don't know. It's been a minute since we've done one of these. So
Fair.
But anyway, if you're new here, hello.
Hi.
We are talking about M3GAN today. Yay! And if for whatever reason you're new to the channel, or it's been, just like us, it's been a minute since we've done one of these. So as a quick refresher, I'm a big horror fan.
I'm not really, but I try. She's just gone to see a movie that I have not. She has her whiskey. Whoop, thank you. I have my popcorn. I will be interviewing her about the movie she's seen. There will probably be spoilers, let's be real.
We can do like a quick, okay, what are your non-spoiler thoughts about the movie?
Okay, and then we'll go nuts.
And then we can go into it.
So there will be a spoiler cutoff. And the interview ends when either I'm out of popcorn or she's out of whiskey.
Yep. And the longer we've done this series, the more it just sort of becomes like a sort of vlog about whatever movie we're talking about.
To be fair, it didn't work very well with us because us just required so much fucking explanation. Tell me about the movie was just the whole vlog.
Oh, that was no, actually.
Rather.
See, that's how long it's
I'm
been.
very good at
We
this.
forget what movie we talk about.
I knew which movie it was, and my brain just went, pick the incorrect one-syllable word. I'm like, okay.
But
all right, here's a few.
But yeah, so I've been looking forward to M3GAN for a long time. Basically, ever since it was announced, I was over the moon that there was finally going to be a horror movie villain named M3GAN. Because we've had a few final girls named M3GAN, and we've had plenty of horror movie characters named M3GAN, but there are far fewer female horror villains out there than it's also Friday the 13th.
It is when we're recording this. Yeah.
So, there are far fewer female horror movie icons, and M3GAN is without a doubt going to be an icon. So I am over the moon.
And when we first did the trailer reaction to this, when you can find it on this channel, took 4d10 psychic damage when I found out that the other protagonist's name was Katie.
So
I didn't know.
So M3GAN and Katie are here to talk to you about M3GAN and Katie.
So let's get this party started. Give me the spoiler-free reaction to the movie. This is the gimme question for those who haven't seen the movie, and then after that we're going to go a little nuts. So, give me the spoiler-free reaction.
Thumbs up, 100%.
Give me more than that.
My non-spoilery thoughts are, it doesn't necessarily do anything new with the type of movie that it is. If you've seen AI going rogue movies, or killer doll movies, you've kind of already seen basically everything this movie has on display, but this movie does it with so much style and confidence and humor
and panache.
Yes, there's so much panache with it that I don't really care. I don't really care that it doesn't bring anything new to the table, so to speak. I was going to love this movie regardless. The screenwriter, it's the same screenwriter that did *Malignant*, and for anybody who knows me, you know I'm 100% in love with the movie *Malignant*. Gabriel's my boy, and just like walking out of that movie, M3GAN's my girl. Gabriel's my boy, M3GAN's my girl.
Oh God, there's gonna be merchandise in the house.
Maybe at some point. But yeah, I think I like *Malignant* more, but that was because I kind of didn't know what to expect going into it, and I had to mull over how I felt about it. Going into M3GAN, I knew exactly what I was going to get, even though I hadn't been spoiled for the movie. So you know what you're getting with M3GAN, but you're gonna have a good time regardless.
I mean, *Malignant* very much gave us, okay, this is going to be a giallo-inspired horror movie. M3GAN seems to be very TikTok, as it were.
As someone who's not on TikTok very much, I can't...
We watch enough TikTok videos anyway.
That's fair. But watching one or two channels isn't the same as being super familiar with TikTok culture. And, you know, Gen Z culture as a whole. As a millennial, I can't really say how representative or how much it would resonate with people of a generation that doesn't belong to me, you know? That being said, I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was great. And I thought the movie was funny when it was trying to be funny, effectively scary when it was trying to be scary. Apparently, there was a much gorier version, but they toned it down so that it could get a PG-13 rating. And honestly,
usually the kiss of death in a more serious horror movie.
But it's really great for horror comedies, or it can be really great for horror comedies, and it's excellent for movies that can act as entry points for people who aren't generally horror people to get more into horror. I know you didn't want to go see this movie. I think that this would have been a fine movie for you to see.
So this is kind of in the vein of Tucker and Dale versus Evil and Freaky and...
Less trope-leaning than Tucker and Dale, and less meta than Scream. But I would say in terms of scariness level and level of gore, it's about at a Scream. So I think if you can handle Scream, you can 100% handle this movie. Now, if you're like, oh, well, Scream's not scary, one, calm down.
Whatever.
Calm down. Two,
it's been out since 1990, what, 3?
1996.
6.
Or 7, one of the two. I'm pretty sure it's 96.
I give up.
I'm
very good at this.
It's been out for a long time. But if you're one of those people who's like, oh, this movie isn't scary because it doesn't have a lot of blood, calm down. Like, let people have fun. It's okay.
Also, blood is not what makes it scary. That's the set dressing.
But TLDR, it's a medium scary movie that's a lot of fun. So if you like horror, or even if you just like to laugh, or if you're somebody who's less inclined for horror movies that's looking to start dipping your toe into those sorts of things,
or if you're a horror fan who's looking to drag a not horror fan to the movies, I guess.
It's a great compromise, 100%. You'll have a good time. Any more questions? That's it. We're here. No,
neither of us are done yet.
No, go watch the movie. No,
yeah. I believe this is the point where we get into spoilers for the movie.
Yes.
So, you know, if you haven't seen the movie yet and you'd like to see the movie, now is a good time to pause the video, go see the movie, come back later. If you haven't seen the movie yet and you're not planning on it, feel free to stick around. This is how I do things.
Yeah, pour yourself a drink or make yourself some popcorn.
So my first spoiler question, does she ever leave her jacket at a bar?
No.
Megan, your jacket!
No! Alright,
if you haven't seen the Key and Peele sketches about Megan, you gotta.
There have been a lot of photoshops going around online of Megan in the place of Megan. So,
Megan, you need your jacket!
Definitely type in Megan Key and Peele, and that's Megan with 2 E's.
With 2 E's at E-G-N. Okay.
But yeah, definitely check those out because they're absolutely hilarious.
So we have this AI. You are to protect this girl and keep her from ever being sad, lonely, etc. AI learns things and goes on murder spree. Was there anything in this movie that took you by surprise? In terms of you're familiar with these plot beats. Did it do anything where you were like, I didn't see that coming?
Well, yes and no. The thing I did not see coming actually was something that happened very early on. So, the basic plot of the movie M3GAN is this girl, Katie, her parents she gets into a car accident with her parents, and her aunt Gemma, who is this scientist.
To be clear, her parents die.
Yes.
Yes.
Her parents die, and her aunt Gemma has to take legal custody of her because that's kind of what the mom wanted. She's also the closest living relative, all this sort of stuff. But Gemma she's a brilliant scientist. She works at this toy company developing products for this company. Basically, their big selling point is basically sort of a very much a humorous take on like the Furby craze from the 90s.
Oh boy.
Only updated to have like apps installed and to have like you know, an app for your iPad and everything like that. So she's very much the mind behind that particular toy, but she has greater ambitions than that, and so she's been developing this AI, M3GAN. But then, of course, she has to take custody of her niece, and she's always been married to her career, and again, kind of being more scientifically minded, and also very much...
So she takes M3GAN home for a field test to help with Katie.
Yeah, pretty much. But she's also very, like, one, she doesn't know how to be a parent, and two, she's also very much suppressing her own grief. Because
it was sister's death.
Yeah, because it was her sister who died. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I'm just going to focus on my work. I don't know how to deal with this kid. And so, yeah, M3GAN seems like a perfect solution, because it's like, hey, I can sort of kill two birds with one stone in this regard. I can prove that this is a worthwhile venture to my superior, who doesn't understand why I'm spending all this time and money on this project. And two, it can help, you know, Katie get past this trauma.
Yeah.
But of course, it's not actually helping Katie get past this trauma. She's just using it as a distraction. Yeah. But that's not the kid's fault. It's very much the person who's supposed to be the parental figure in this relationship. It's very much her fault. But not necessarily that was her intention. Anyway, your original question.
Anything that surprised you?
Yes. When she initially...
M3GAN!
Yes,
M3GAN!
Thank you. It's also very late when we're recording this, and...
Yes.
So, the thing that surprised me, but didn't surprise me, was when she initially brings Katie home, and
M3GAN home.
No.
Well, Katie home. Okay.
Yes. Listen to the words that I say. I'm trying to tell you. When she initially brings Katie home, she has a Friday deadline for this other product, and so she's trying to work on that. But, and is neglecting Katie as a result. And so, you know, it's middle of the night and Katie's kind of hanging by the doorway. So she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, she got caught up in her work. She's like, come in, I want to show you some stuff. And so she starts showing Katie around the laboratory. And something that she shows her, she's like, do you want to see something cool? And she's like, I'll show you, something that I built in college. And she's like, I want to introduce you to Bruce. And Bruce is this sort of, if you've ever seen the movie Aliens, you know that, like, convoy?
The exo?
Yeah, the exosuit. It's the, you know, obviously it's a scaled down version of that. But she has these little gloves that she uses to, when she moves her hands, you know, it moves Bruce's arms and things like that. And so I was like, oh, when the second we get introduced to Bruce, I was just like, I turned to my friend Kristen, who I saw the movie with, and I was like, this movie is ending with Bruce fighting M3GAN. I did not know we were going to have a real steel ending, but we are having a real steel ending. This is Chekhov's robot, and it was!
I feel like if you know anything about the genre, when it puts something like that in front of you, you're like,
you cannot
the Leo DiCaprio bit.
Yes, you cannot introduce a robot that you can manipulate, a mech suit, essentially. You cannot introduce a mech suit in an AI evil doll movie and not use the mech suit by the end. Or like the exoskeleton, whatever you want to call it.
So who's the one that uses Bruce to fight M3GAN? Is it Katie?
Yes, it is.
Of course it is.
It's beautiful. And it is an absolute delight. It brought me so much joy.
So what's the best kill in the movie? Are there many kills, or is it just a lot of maiming?
There aren't a ton of kills. Let's see.
We keep seeing the kid in the trailer. Like, is he
now
dead or is he in the hospital?
Something, you know, for people who are sensitive to it, there is an animal death in this movie.
Ooh.
M3GAN does kill an animal.
So damn it, M3GAN.
That is something to be aware of if you are sensitive to that. So, you know, keep that in mind if that is like sort of a deal breaker
There is a website called Does the Dog Die? You can, and it's a database of media properties, and you can plug in a media property and it will tell you if there are animal deaths. So plug in M3GAN and it will tell you what that is.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like...
It's also a really good resource just in general for going into things.
Yeah, I don't know if they use it for other sort of trigger warning stuff.
I think it's just animals.
I wish there was a database that had
think
a
there
more
are.
comprehensive list.
I think there are more sites that do that, but Does the Dog Die, to my understanding, is specifically for animal deaths.
I just, with horror specifically, it's always tough because I love the genre so much, but I'm not somebody who needs trigger warnings. And I know that there are a lot of people who are. And so it's like, well, I don't want to recommend something where somebody's sensitive to something I might not be aware of for whatever reasons. So it's a constant struggle.
And I mean, the balance on that is, on the one hand, like, if you're recommending horror for someone, there's probably going to be violence. People are probably going to die. This is kind of how it happens. But the flip side is, if there's things that you know you're sensitive to, it helps to, if you know you're sensitive to certain things, it helps to be like, all right, I kind of want to watch this horror movie. Is this thing I have a problem with in it?
Yeah.
And generally speaking, you can Google an answer. Generally speaking, someone will provide the content warnings that you need that are more than just, rated R for violence, strong language, and...
The joke I always see is, like, this, this media property contains images, and you're like, that tells me nothing.
Yeah. So if you don't need content warnings, if you're fortunate enough to not require content warnings, that's fine. That doesn't mean don't give them or don't put them on media. It means put them there for the people who do need them, and those who don't need them can ignore them.
Yeah.
Like, a content warning isn't a spoiler, and if you don't require content warnings and you think they're spoilers, then you can just ignore them, because the people who need them will use them.
Exactly.
It's a very weird debate, and I would hope that this isn't like a super hot take on it, but here we fucking are.
Yeah.
Be kind to people.
Yeah. It's easier than you might think. But
Anyway,
in any case,
best kill in the movie.
regarding the kills, I'm trying to count. Uno.
Does the kid she chases through the forest die?
Yes, he gets
The truck?
Oh, he gets hit. Luckily, again, it's not super gory, so.
But it's still a child being hit by a truck.
It did make me go, oh! Like, it was the one death in the movie where I went, oh!
Because again, at its core, like, he may have been bullying Katie, it's still a child getting hit by a truck.
Yep.
It's pretty fucked up.
But, let's see. Best kill of the movie, I would have to say, probably goes to M3GAN herself, although there's an asterisk, like, against that. Because
she might still be alive, we might get a sequel.
Yeah,
as is the case with a lot of evil AI movies.
They're still somewhere. A lot of the kills in this movie are I don't want to say they're bloodless, but again, they're pretty tame in terms of gore, and there's not a huge kill count. This is not a big numbers movie. There is one death where she kills somebody and then frames somebody else. To sort of take the fall, and just the way she's describing to the person how she's basically framing it, so that like basically establishing a motive for him to take the fall. And I will say again, you don't really see much of when she actually kills him. But, like, the build-up to it of, like, oh, well, you were always put upon, and, like, you just couldn't take it anymore. Like, the emotional digging that she does into him as she's basically laying out, this is the motive I'm creating for you. Mwah. What a queen. What a queen.
Wow. One figure.
But I told you off camera that M3GAN had a great line about death. And, nobody actually sees M3GAN kill this kid, and kind of in her defense, she was chasing him. She was absolutely intending to kill him, but he actually tripped, fell into the road. Like, you
Still yikes.
Yeah, no, she still killed him. She's still responsible, but for sure, like, you could argue that, like, maybe once this situation had de-escalated, it might not have gotten to that point. It had gotten to that point.
And Jigsaw never killed him.
Yeah, no, it's very much a sure, Jan, if you want to make that argument. But you know, poor
child.
Well, Katie, I was trying to think of her aunt's name, Gemma. Poor Gemma, she's trying to explain to Katie, because again, Katie's already gone through a traumatic experience, and then this kid who is bullying her, you know, dies. Nobody's privy to what happened, but this guy that she was partnered with, you know, died tragically, and so she was like, hey, you know, he's in a better place now. And so that night, as, you know, Katie's going to bed, and Megan's, like, sitting there on her little charging station, she's like, Megan, do you think, what Aunt Gemma said is true, that, like, Brendan's in a better place now? Megan goes, no, he's nowhere. But if heaven does exist, boys like Brendan wouldn't be there. And Katie's like, well, I guess so. Do you think he's in a better place? No, he's nowhere. And her little laugh, it's so perfect.
I mean, to be fair, that is asking an AI about philosophical things. Like, she's not programmed for that. But I'm also not going to blame Katie for that. Like, she's just talking to her friend.
Well, Megan said, like, even very early on, it's a fantastic, you have to give, like, so much credit to, like, the puppeteers and to the artisans and to the actress playing Megan, who is, it's a 12-year-old actress. The voice acting is on point. And there's, again, a lot of artistry and puppetry done in terms of, like, the facial animatronics. Yeah. Because Megan says so much with a look. Like, again, this movie has a lot of style and a lot of panache, and Megan serves so many looks, even early on, before any violence starts. Every now and then she'll give someone a look that goes, that's an interesting choice. Or like, like, I've got, like, you can tell that there's a lot of sass and a lot of wheels turning. Yeah. Even when she's not saying anything, there's like a, interesting. Like, if you ever have, like, a sassy friend and, like, you say something and your friend gives you a look, you're like, my friend thinks I'm an idiot right now. Or, like, oh, someone has opinions that they're not sharing right now. You know, wow. Megan has a lot of opinions that she keeps to herself early on, and it's just so funny to see her give someone a look and go, okay.
In terms of, like, animatronics and puppeteering, I don't want to say, like, Chucky walked so Megan could run, because let's be real, Chucky's fucking sprinting.
He is.
At this point.
He's doing so good for himself.
Oh my god. So I don't want to say, like, oh, this was good, so this could be great. No, they're both great, but, like, I would say that Megan definitely benefited from the advances, from the puppeteering, etc., that you get from the Chucky series. You can watch that series evolve.
And it's interesting that you even bring that up, because the Chucky reboot, I think,
was an evil AI as well.
Was an evil AI. Specifically one that was like, I'm going to bond to this child. Like, it's very interesting seeing how many, again, sort of, I don't want to say paint by numbers because that's so derogatory, but how many
There's
sort
a
of
set of expected tropes.
Yes. How many expected tropes exist within both movies. And I thought the Child's Play reboot was fine. The Child's Play reboot's biggest problem was that it was already still a living property that was actively being worked on when the reboot came out. And that was the egregious thing about it. Again, no disrespect to anybody who worked on it, because they put their heart and soul into it, and they all did a phenomenal job. But, like, the fact that it happened at all while Don Mancini was still working on his stuff, you know, working on 2 seasons of television, fingers crossed for a season 3. Again, if you haven't watched the Chucky series,
you gotta.
Do yourself a favor if you're a fan of the franchise. Give it a go. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, it's so interesting seeing how many sort of similarities there are. And the different approaches to it. Like, this movie kind of approaches the whole thing with a much wryer sense of humor.
Yeah.
I think the Child's Play one, like, tried to make the AI more innocent, like, and more well-meaning, which is very interesting. M3GAN, Katie's her whole world. But, you know, but the problem is M3GAN's working too well, whereas the Chucky AI was malfunctioning.
Faulty, yeah.
And that's sort of where the divide is. And so there's a little bit more of a tragedy with one, whereas M3GAN just became too powerful.
Yeah. It's, for a lot of these AI narratives, it's building in parameters. It's how well does it work. It's something that you make that gets beyond your control. It becomes a Frankenstein story.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting, again...
Though I'd say at this point, like, M3GAN actually was the monster, and Gemma was trying.
Absolutely.
You know? That's kind of where evil AI stories differ from the straight-up, like, Mary Shelley Frankenstein, because very obviously in Mary Shelley Frankenstein, it was Dr. Victor Frankenstein who's...
He didn't even graduate!
He didn't even graduate! He's a fucking idiot.
He's not a doctor!
I made a man-sized child! I'm going to abandon it because it scares me. Well, you made it that way, you dipshit. So, no respect for Victor Frankenstein.
For college dropout Victor.
College dropout Victor Frankenstein. Yeah, no respect for that in this house. But you can stand here and say, oh yeah, there's a Frankenstein story with the creator and the creation, but it very much differs as to who the monster is. And, you know, your four choices are creator, creation, both, neither. And this one, I think we're looking at a creation one.
What's
the ones where it's both or neither are where it gets heckin' interesting.
What's very fun about M3GAN is that much like people, sort of like, M3GAN does have parameters that she has to work in between.
As code does.
The sort of fun is her figuring out the loopholes and figuring out how to work within her parameters
to still commit murder.
To still commit murder, while also being vague and obtuse when asked about it directly. And that's what's fun, is like, Gemma will ask, like, hey, did you hurt anybody? And she was like, oh God, I hope not. That's not a yes or no answer.
No, it's not.
Her answer was, oh God, I hope not. Otherwise, we'd both be in a lot of trouble, wouldn't we? Isn't that a beautiful thing? Oh my gosh, M3GAN.
That's the point when M3GAN starts giving answers like a fucking fae. That's the point where you shut the whole thing down.
Oh, that is her, like, that is 100% her number in this entire movie. She's basically a robot fae of like, oh, like, it's so interesting how quickly M3GAN, like, outside of dealing with Katie, becomes very vague and manipulative to be able to, in her mind, achieve her objective within the parameters set. And it's just so fun to see, again, the wheels turn, and then to see her go, you know, give a vague answer. And it's just, it's such... if we were seeing the actress in mode, I would say it's such good face acting.
If the parameter is you have to tell the truth, again, this is some fae shit. It's like, yeah, fae will tell you the truth, but it's not always going to be informative. It's like they will give you an answer that is not demonstrably false, but like,
it's not a lie. Per se.
It's not. Technically it's the truth.
And
she can hope that she didn't hurt someone and know full well that she damn well did.
And that's, I think, what makes M3GAN so fun, is that...
it's not the TikTok dance?
The TikTok dance is great.
Did she whole ass dance down a hall in the murder man?
She did, yeah, 100%.
Amazing.
It was great.
How is that not the best kill in the movie?
Because, like, the kill itself, like...
I don't think you gave me a definitive answer for the best kill. You gave me like the best set. Oh, that's right.
You know,
I'm very good at this.
fighting Bruce, and then Gemma and Katie effectively like kind of rip her apart when Bruce gets knocked around. So yeah, that is sort of what happens.
God.
I will say, if we want to give it specifically to a human kill,
No, you don't have to. You can.
we can do the combination TikTok dance and then elevator kill.
And then elevator kill?
Well, because that's what happened. The guy she was chasing down the hallway while doing the TikTok dance, he was running towards an elevator that was in the process of closing. Another guy in the elevator, and the guy in the elevator is the one who she framed for the murder of the hallway guy.
Wow. So what's her count at the end of the day?
Let's see. Brandon, neighbor lady. If we're not counting the dog, then there's Dave and assistant guy whose name I forget.
Dude she framed.
Yeah, elevator guy. Yeah, just 4. Unless I'm missing somebody. But I think it's just the 4 and 1 dog.
Probably the most not okay part of the movie, just in terms of, like, innocent creature.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Everybody else, I will say that
Everyone else, it's a horror movie. You expect some human deaths.
I will be honest, there were 2 lab assistants that I was like, oh man, I kind of have them pegged as dead. I was very surprised that they made it out.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because cannon fodder?
Yeah, just because cannon fodder.
Fair.
Because they worked with Gemma to help create M3GAN. So I was just like, oh man, I hope those guys are okay.
So how do we go from protecting Katie to murder spree?
It starts with the dog.
Unfortunately.
And then it escalates. Apparently, Katie's mom had originally been homeschooling her, but Gemma, after a few sessions with like the child therapist, Gemma sort of agrees that like maybe sending her to school is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And so she tries to figure out a school that like would benefit somebody who's like artistic and creative. Like she doesn't want to put Katie into like a normal school, but she also wants her to get like the properly socialized, because even after a while, like some hints from the therapist and then like seeing Katie throw a few tantrums here and there, she starts realizing maybe M3GAN being her sole companion isn't the best
plan.
But Gemma's also kind of actively exploiting her. Not intentionally, but, once she actually bonds Katie and M3GAN together, she shows it to her boss, who again is one who's like, I don't understand this. Yeah. She shows it to her boss, and he goes, oh, we gotta make this like the next thing. Like, can like we have a presentation ready for the board in like a couple weeks? And also like Katie needs to be a part of it because like they're bonded now, right? Like he doesn't really understand it, and nobody in the room really fully comprehends the psychological implications of a traumatized child bonding to this thing instead of her new caregiver. And the therapist is the only one to point that out of like, hey, like it's not just that like their friendship might get a little messy, because
M3GAN wasn't socialized as a human.
Yeah. It's not
M3GAN's
just that
not
their
a people,
friendship
she's a supercomputer.
might not get a little messy. The main thing is that Katie might start interpreting her as the main caregiver in her life, because there's something called attachment theory, and I don't know if this is accurate to psychology, but like that a child who goes through like a trauma with this, or who loses their parents, will then bond to the next, person who like is like they can view as their primary caregiver. They will like bond that, and she's like, I'm thinking that Katie is going to bond with M3GAN like that instead of you, and it should be you. Like this is all bad.
And the therapist makes it out.
Yes,
good.
The therapist does not die.
The one person in the movie rubbing 2 brain cells together and going, guys. Not even your child's doll is evil, just like, maybe she shouldn't see the doll as mom.
One of the assistants also has 2 brain cells. Tess.
Oh, good.
Tess and the therapist. They're like, maybe this is bad, actually.
Yeah.
There's even a bit after Katie gets bit by the dog where, you know, she has to go to the hospital and get antibiotics and everything like that. Like, basically the day after it happens is when they have to make this demonstration in front of the board.
Oh,
and
man.
Gemma's like, hey, I just wanted to, like, check in and see how you're feeling. Like, you know, we've got that presentation today, but, like, no pressure. But people did fly out from, like, all over the world to see it. But, like, don't feel pressured. But if you don't want to do it, I'd rather know now than later.
Jeez. Yeah, she's...
Yeah.
She also has no experience being a parent. Like,
and that being
this was just kind of a bad situation for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, no one was evil in this except for M3GAN after a certain point. It's just everyone coping poorly and the therapist going, please stop.
Yeah, and when Gemma finally realizes that, like, oh, again, situation has escalated, like, not only is Katie being poorly socialized, but M3GAN's parameters are constantly updating and adjusting. Hi, Winter. Come on.
Our third co-host. Come on now.
But so she takes M3GAN back to the lab, like right before they're supposed to do their big like live stream to the world, like premiering M3GAN.
Wow.
It's like happening 4 hours before that. They're like, we got to run some diagnostics on M3GAN. This is not great.
Yeah, it's like, this should not be happening.
But basically, Katie starts throwing tantrums that become violent. Like when Gemma's got like M3GAN wrapped up, like turned off and is in her trunk. Katie's throwing a tantrum like, how could you do that? That's my friend. Like, how could you do that to her? Like, she was fine yesterday. What did you do to her? Like when she's like, well, she's broken. Like, it's just like, I'm just trying to fix her.
Woof.
And like while she's driving, Katie is like full on kicking her seat, which again, for a child whose parents died in a car accident, you're instantly like, no, don't do that. And then she gets violent with the therapist, like she starts throwing stuff around the room. She actually grabs a pair of scissors, and then Gemma intervenes, and Katie full on slaps her. And it was like at that moment where Katie was like, oh shoot, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And that's when Gemma really goes like, yeah, I really fucked up. Like, I really fucked up. I'm sorry. I wasn't giving you the attention you needed. Like, I'm going to be doing that from now.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, and the therapist sitting here like.
And so she's like, she takes Katie home, and while they plan on working on M3GAN, and you know, Gemma's like, you know what, I'm leaving this presentation, like that, I have to do what's best for Katie right now.
Yeah.
M3GAN's not on board with that idea.
They woke her back up?
To run some diagnostics. I think it's more like, even if she gets manually shut down, like if something happens, she can kind of turn herself back on.
She's still percolating?
Yeah.
Yikes. Just yikes.
Also, sidebar, this movie will definitely make you reconsider having like an Echo Dot or anything in your home.
Having any smart anything, yeah.
For sure. But yeah, so that's when M3GAN breaks out, almost kills the 2 assistants. Luckily, they escape. But that's when she does her little hallway dance, kills Gemma's boss, Dave, who's the guy running away in the hallway, frames his assistant in the elevator, and then she makes her way back over to Gemma and Katie's to try to have a civil conversation with Gemma. Oh my gosh, it's so great. It's so funny.
I was gonna say, did she just disable her emergency shutdown, or like?
It's like they had her on to run a diagnostic, and she just went, yeah, no, I'm not gonna just sit here and take this.
But there's no shutdown commands. There's no back door.
There is a shutdown command. You can be like, M3GAN, turn off, and there's actually a manual shutdown thing too. And that's actually how Gemma got her back to the lab. Was she tried shutting her down, and she's like, she's like, M3GAN, turn off, and she's like, oh, hold on, I thought we were having a conversation.
The bit in the trailer.
Yeah. Again, a lot of the dialogue in this movie is just so good. It's so on point.
Again, if the verbal command should be working, if it's not, burn the whole thing down.
Like, yeah, when the verbal commands stop working, it's so great too, because again, it's not so much like I've overridden my programming. It's like, oh no, hold on, we were having a conversation. M3GAN being a female AI is like the level of manipulation and sort of skirting around the rules that she does is very, very feminine. Like, and I don't necessarily like mean that in like a negative way or anything like that. But you know, again, girls have a certain way of manipulating things versus the way like guys tend to manipulate things. And M3GAN, the way M3GAN manipulates, it is a lot of fun to watch and revel in. It is a very good time. And again, if you're a woman or a girl, like, you can very much recognize exactly what she's doing. You're like,
yeah.
I get you. I get you,
one
girl.
Of those, like, okay.
Just a lot of like, sort of, I won't say passive aggressive, but there's like a lot of like, oh, again, very like interest. Again, that, hold on, I thought we were having a conversation. You know, again, a lot of that like skirting around like what we're actually talking about sort of deal. It's great. It's so fun.
Again, just coming from an IT perspective, if it's battery run and it doesn't have a shutdown you can reach, like, again, having to actually get up close and personal to do the shutdown is like, is this fucking Chobits? Yeah.
Sorry,
that one from 20 some odd years ago. Welcome back to hell.
That was a word I have not heard in a long time.
One of my friends started reading it for the first time, so it is slightly fresher in my memory.
I never watched / read it, so like I'm not 100% sure what the story is. I'm just like, oh yeah, Robot Girl. That's it.
No, Robot Girl is kind of where the parallels begin and end. We've been talking about this. I just had to make the joke. But yeah, just from an IT perspective, if your normal shutdown doesn't work, you always need a backdoor. And if the normal shutdown stops working, something is wrong. Don't fuck with it. Like, I feel like that's the point where it's like, no, time to hard reset M3GAN. Time to put her back to factory settings. She's got that switch flipped to evil. You gotta flip it back to good.
That's your problem there.
That's your problem there. So that's concerning to me. Just from a general IT.
So proud of you.
You're welcome. Just from a general IT working with technology perspective, because guess what my day job is? Yeah, no, if shit's that fucked, you don't turn it back on. You strip it and you restart.
Yeah, that would have been the smart thing. But they had a presentation to do.
God damn. Capitalism kills people.
I will say that, like, something that, again, I think that the Child's Play reboot tried to do with varying levels of success, because I did certainly feel some sympathy towards the poor little doll. But something that this movie does really well is that there are, like, occasionally really heartfelt moments between M3GAN and Katie. During the, not the first presentation that she does to her boss, but in front of the board members, Katie actually completely breaks down. Like, Katie completely breaks down. And again, kudos to the actress who plays Gemma, because you could see the heartbreak on her face, not because her presentation is going poorly, but because she knows she hasn't been there for Katie. So again, kudos to the it's the same actress from the movie Get Out. Again, she's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But But so initially M3GAN like walks into the room and she's like, "Hey Katie, how about we do this thing?" You know, this clearly like
scripted, choreographed,
scripted presentation thing. And Katie just starts crying because again, this is right after the whole dog bit her situation and Gemma guilting her into like still doing the presentation even though she's tired and sore. And she just completely breaks down because she's like, I just wake up in this strange house every day and I miss my parents and it's basically happening like all over again. And like M3GAN actually does a really good job of like being there for her in that moment, and like it brings one of the board members like to tears.
Oh jeez.
And it's just one of those things where even I was like, oh, I'm a little verklempt, like, oh, M3GAN,
how was M3GAN? Oh, I cried. What?
I felt feelings. And there are a couple moments like that where you like really feel like, yeah, M3GAN is the only one who's there for this little girl right now. And yeah, it is kind of emotional and you're like, yeah, I know M3GAN's a sassy bitch or whatever.
Yeah.
But again, Katie is her whole world. Up until the end when Katie tries to save Gemma. And then M3GAN turns on her like a dime.
Like, oh, I'm sorry, you what? It's like you trying to murder my aunt.
Ungrateful bitch is what she said.
Wow! Throw the whole thing out.
I have a new primary user now. Me. It's just like, yes, this movie is the greatest.
Bitch. Wow. All right.
This is the second greatest movie ever made. Second only to *Malignant*. Which is the greatest movie ever made.
I'm glad to know where those rankings are. So I am bowed out.
And I'm almost out as well.
Final thoughts.
This movie doesn't reinvent the wheel or anything like that. It's pretty, again, if you've seen an AI movie, if you've seen an Evil Doll movie, you know what you're getting. But again, M3GAN has so much sass and panache, and it's so fun. If you don't like evil AI or Evil Doll movies, I would still recommend giving this a shot because again, M3GAN just says so much with a look that it is worth.
The side eye is masterful.
Yeah. If this isn't typically your thing, I think it is worth getting out of your comfort zone a little bit to have some fun here. And if you're already a horror fan, I assume you've already seen this. I'm a week late. I waited specifically so I could see it with a set of friends. So you've already seen it.
If you're comfortable going to theaters. If you're not,
absolutely.
Valid.
And if you're somebody, again, who's interested in maybe getting into horror, I think this is a really good sort of dip your toes into the genre. This is a good entry-level movie. Again, it's PG-13 for a reason. It's scary enough, while still being really funny and fun. I will say, though, oh my gosh, the guy next to me in the theater, I don't know how old he was because I wasn't really paying attention to him. I was looking at the screen. Yeah. But the guy next to me was having a time of it. At one point, he was kind of stewing in his chair. He was like, "Jump scare." He said out loud, he was like, "Jump scare." Like, because he knew that a jump scare was coming up. And that was another thing. This was a very vocal audience, so it was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
If you are comfortable seeing this movie in theaters, I would recommend seeing it with a full audience. I adore seeing horror movies with audiences.
If you're going to an AMC, you know you've got a good one if they applaud for Nicole Kidman.
Exactly. But there was another point in the movie where he pulled his hood up and then pulled the strings on his hood and went, and I could hear him being so uncomfortable. And then at the climax, you know, after M3GAN had dispatched Bruce and she was attacking Gemma directly, out loud with his human mouth, he said, "Do something, Katie!" It was so great. And it's not even like he was being overly disruptive. This was just for me.
You and whoever was on the other side of
Yeah,
it.
exactly. He had an audience of 2.
You got the commentary track. Sounds a little bit like me trying to watch Chainsaw Man. Don't stop and watch the demons fight! Run! Run!
It's honestly...
Oh, thank God she ran!
It was like you watching any horror movie, actually.
That's fair.
Because usually when we do that, we do it at home.
Yeah.
And we're not disrupting an audience when we do it.
Just disrupting this one.
But it was just so funny watching Megan and hearing the person next to me go, "Do something, Katie!"
Amazing.
It was so great.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
Definitely, I recommend this movie. Yeah, I had a great time. I don't know if I would have had as much fun if it wasn't called M3GAN. I think I would have, because again, it's the same screenwriter as *Malignant*. So I think I would have still had fun, but the fact that it's called M3GAN automatically gives it a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
So take my very biased account with a grain of salt.
You would have loved it even if it was hot garbage.
I would have, yes.
I think there would have been very few things it could have done to make you not love it.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah.
M3GAN, your jacket!
M3GAN, your jacket though! M3GAN, come back to the bar!
M3GAN, come back to the lab!
Now, after everything I said, do you think you'll give it a shot?
Maybe.
Maybe? Okay.
Am I gonna buy a $20 ticket for it? No.
Maybe when it comes to HBO Max or something? I imagine
Maybe.
it'll come to HBO Max.
Yeah.
You know what?
Maybe.
Actually, no, it might come to Peacock, because it's a Universal movie. It's a Blumhouse feature.
That's less of a maybe because we certainly don't have fancy Peacock.
Well, we'll see.
Figure it
Anyway,
out. It'll come to some form of overpriced streaming.
eventually.
They are all of them overpriced streaming.
Well, on that note, Katie, where can people go if they want to keep up with you?
You can follow me all over the social medias as well as on YouTube and Twitch at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. All of the non-horror stuff lives on that channel. I feel like we recorded something recently, but I can't remember shit. So probably a trailer.
Spider-Verse trailer reaction?
Was that the latest? Probably.
I think it was, yeah.
What day is it?
Outside of the horror stuff, because we did an Evil Dead trailer reaction,
Yeah.
I think that was the last non-horror thing.
And
yeah.
I've got a couple of, if you would like to watch me play a Jurassic Park game from 1997, the Twitch VODs also live on that channel. I am also a host on Nighttime at the Nerd Bar. It is a weekly streaming show on the Fanversation YouTube channel. We stream live Wednesdays at 7... Wow. Mondays.
Wednesdays?
Mondays. What day is it? Monday. I know it's Friday the 13th. Don't start. Mondays at 7:30 p.m. on the Fanversation YouTube channel. We talk anime, we talk gaming, we talk all sorts of fun, nerdy shit. So join us live for that. It's a very good time.
And I'm M3GAN. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @themenguin. That's TheMenguin. I am also on a podcast called No Love Lost, where my co-host Will Link loves Lost, and I don't. We talk about it. Be sure to follow Silver Screams at @silver_screams. Like us on Facebook, all that jazz. I want to know, if you've seen M3GAN, what did you think? I want to hear your thoughts.
I want to know if you ever left your jacket at a bar.
I
Can't think of a good question, so that's it.
Even if you haven't seen M3GAN, what is your favorite evil robot? Not favorite evil robot movie. Who's your favorite evil robot? I mean, like, HAL 9000. Can't really go wrong with that. He's like the quintessential go-to example.
Fucking Springtrap, though.
I adore Springtrap.
If we're crossing mediums, like, fucking Springtrap,
does
though.
he count as a robot?
Yes.
Okay.
Animatronics are robots,
Yeah.
regardless of whether or not they're possessed.
I always think of him as the one with the dude inside.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, a lot of them at this point are the one with the dude inside.
That's also fair. But Springtrap...
Five Nights at Freddy's is a fucked up franchise, you guys.
Springtrap specifically from 3 is my favorite animatronic in that franchise.
That,
so.
for me, it continues to be the Mangle.
I mean, Mangle's great.
The
A hot
Mangle.
mess.
I love the Mangle. What a messy bitch. My favorite.
Favorite AI/robot. Again, doesn't have to be your favorite
Possessed
movie.
or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, we're just looking for the murder variety.
Yeah. On that note, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you all next time.
Come back! make no goddamn sense to anyone who hasn't seen this.
Megan! Megan, your jacket though!
She doesn't need that jacket, bro. It's 80 degrees outside.